So everybody, thank you for joining us. We greatly appreciate you jumping in and coming. Justin, who is with Humanscale, is going to give us a little education about one, monitor arms, but also about technology and about, as far as how to handle some of the wiring issues and all that fun stuff. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Justin.
Thank you. So thanks for the invite first off. Those of you who are on, if you do happen to have cameras, please throw them on. I like having faces as I'm talking. It's helpful. If you can't, then by all means don't. My name is Justin Meeks. I am the product manager for technology for Humanscale. So I manage a huge chunk of our technology products, monitor arms, and ergo. I'm going to be walking through a slide deck today just to kind of touch on some of our products, to give some background on them, some of the information on them, and to really kind of hopefully give you guys some value add in regards to our product when you go and talk to other people in regards to them, or look to purchase them yourself if that ends up being the case. As I go through, I tend to stop as often as I can. If you would like to use the hand raise option on here, or if you simply want to just give me a shout out as we're going along, I think the group is small enough, you're welcome to. I'm happy to stop and answer questions and have a conversation. I'd much rather make it more conversational than just me talking. So by all means, please speak up as we go along, and I will certainly be welcoming it. To start off, we're going to be talking about monitor arms, and we're going to talk specifically about what it shows on the screen. And first off, let me make sure everything is showing on the screen. You can see my screen, correct? Nothing worse than jumping into it and you guys are like, wait, we don't see what you're talking about. So we're going to talk about what sets Humanscale monitor arms apart. We're going to jump into kind of the 5 pillars as to what sets our monitor arms apart. And the reason I talk about the pillars is I like to talk about instead of talking about the speed and feed of our monitor arms, I like to talk about why the speed and feed is important. So we're going to talk about the ease of use in an agile work environment. We're going to talk about cost of ownership, safest to use, the most flexible and easiest to configure, and also most sustainable. And we're going to talk about why that's the case for each one of them. So to start off, we're going to talk about the ease of use in agile work environments. And one of the main things of our monitor arms that makes us easiest to use is the technology and the patented design of the arm itself. So with Humanscale, our M2.1 and M8.1 monitor arms use what we call a self-compensating spring mechanism in the dynamic link. So the dynamic link is obviously the one that goes up and down, allows you that full dynamic movement. And what makes it really unique is that on our dynamic link, that giant spring you see in the image, you're able to go in and set that spring tension. But what's different is that that spring tension will stay the same whether it's on the very bottom at a 90-degree angle or at the very top. And that is very different from a lot of our competitors in the fact that they don't do that. What you do is you actually set a spring tension in there. And when it's at the very top or at the very bottom, it's at its easiest movement because the spring is short. But when you start moving it through its movement, that spring elongates when it gets to that 90-degree, and then it shortens again when it goes through. So you have different weights in your movement as you move it up and down. With ours, that's not the case. You actually set that spring mechanism, and then that compensation linkage inside of it actually allows for that spring to stay the same. So you can use a finger to move it up, to move it down, however you need to, through its range of motion, and you're not going to have different kind of hot points through that motion. It's a patented design that we do, and it really sets us apart as far as the range of motion on M8.1 and M2.1. The other thing,
great as far as when you get down at the bottom, sometimes with the others, you'll have it down and it'll just start to drop down farther as it goes. So you think you have it set, but then, now you're down here and you wanted it at this point or whatever, and it just drops on you. So that makes a big difference too with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The other range of motion, obviously, as opposed to up and down, is that front to back motion. And that front to back motion is provided by those joints. So what we did in our redesign about 4 or 5 years ago is we went away from all the plastic washers and plastic components that sit within those joints. And we decided to go more mechanical, and we went straight to machine bearings. So we ended up doing a machine bearing setup in every single joint. They are pre-packed, pre-oiled. You don't have to worry about them coming out because they're a sealed bearing solution inside there. So you don't have oil sitting everywhere or anything like that. But the bearings allow for a very clean motion of movement front to back on all of our monitor arm solutions. It also provides for a much heavier durability. which is fantastic because with those plastic washers over time, if you extend a monitor arm over its length to the far end and you have 5 to 8 pounds on it, that 5 to 8 pounds gets very heavy at the base where that washer is, and it can actually indent those plastic washers. It can cause issues with movement. It can cause monitor arm drifting because it wants to go back to that little slope where it was sitting before, where the indentation is. So that's two of the main pieces when it comes down to agility. We wanted to make sure that this arm was easy for anyone from someone who's more elderly to someone who's incredibly, brand new to the workforce, works out 24/7. We wanted to make sure that the ease of movement and the ability to make it comfortable for them didn't matter what you had going on. You could basically use a finger to move it front to back, side to side, et cetera, okay? Our number 2 pillar really speaks to the cost of ownership. And the reason it speaks to the cost of ownership is because of its ease of use to install. So when we're looking at installation and we're looking at trying to figure out the cost of it being installed or uninstalled and moved or reconfigured by the end user, we wanted to make the product as easy as possible to be able to do that. So one of the things we have in place is our quick release joints. Every single joint where a monitor arm clicks into place has a quick release button that allows you to not only just plug it in and then walk away from it because it's now seated and locked, but give you the ability to make adjustments on the fly, particularly with our M-Flex solution, where you can actually take it apart and be able to readjust, add different pieces, or simply if you needed to replace a monitor or replace a component, to make it very easy to swap those pieces out. So when it comes down to cost of ownership, a lot of that cost of ownership from a commercial standpoint comes down to time. Time is money when people are out working. So to be able to ensure that we can do a quick install, but also quick adjustments on the fly to ensure that we minimize downtime for any commercial customer, that's a huge, huge thing. And that's where the quick release joints really come into play. Separate from that, the cable management plays into that same bucket. Without really good cable management, you can run into issues where a customer could catch the cable with their arm. They could have the cable hang up on a sit stand desk, and when it starts going up, it's now caught and causes damage to not only maybe the panel, but to the desk or to the arm, or even worst case to the screen, right? Those screens now can get very expensive. So to have cable management to where that cabling is now up and away to where it doesn't catch on stuff, to where it can't be messed with, to where it's an afterthought as opposed to a, I don't know what the best word is, a hurdle in some cases, it's a huge plus. We also have some of our competitors who literally use zip ties to zip tie them into the arms. And that by itself is not great. I've literally walked into customers where they have over zip tied. You get too over aggressive on a zip tie. Those zip ties are not always the smoothest material too. They're kind of a square, right? When you pull them through, and they can cut into cables. And we've actually had them where they have cut into cables, causing issues with the screens. So this is another really important piece when it comes to downtime, knowing that that cabling is up and out of the way. You don't have to worry about issues with it to ensure for longevity on the product. Also, when it comes to installation, our counterbalance indicator. This is actually a huge, huge time saving. If you're going in for a large installation, say 500 to 2,000 monitor arms, if the customer is standardized on a screen and you know what the weight is of that screen, you can go in and do a mock-up. You can actually mock the screen up, set your tension to where you want it to be so it's a nice, smooth, clean movement up and down, and then take a picture of where that counterbalance indicator is set, and you can blow that out to whoever's doing the installation so they can preset it right close to where that little green line is. And that way, whenever the screens go on, you're not having to go in and do fine-tune adjustments. You already know where the adjustment should be, and you can save hours and hours of time just because of a simple indicator that's on the monitor arms themselves. And last but not least on this particular one is M-Flex. I don't have a huge image of M-Flex, but what M-Flex really comes down to is a post solution in the middle. It's a giant post that we can do up to 36 inches tall. It allows us to build a monitor arm solution up to 6 screens on a single post and up to 90 pounds on a single base. So when it comes to the agility piece and the ability to do all these quick things, that's where M-Flex shines as well, because you can go in and do a configuration change if your monitor changes. And now you can go from maybe 3/27 wide, you can shrink it down and use different components on that post and go to maybe 2 46-inch wide curved screens and not have to change your base configuration. So it gives you a lot of agility to be able to even utilize, say, a 30-pound ultra wide with a small 27, or you want to put a laptop on a holder up in the air next to that screen so you can have them both at the same height. This product allows for that agility to really move around and play with some of the screens. So I'll go ahead and stop there real quick before I jump into the next bucket and see if there's any questions or comments on those two pieces.
Hey, Justin, one thing is that I think that we forget, just because everybody says they have a quick release on the back of the monitors. I just had Amber the other day do one on an old one that came with one of the majors, and had her try and do the quick release. And it was almost impossible for her to do. And that was without a monitor on, where, you know, she took ours and just flipped it off and it came off extremely easy.
Yeah, the button was like very small and hard on the one that we had. But your button was so much bigger, and it didn't take hardly any effort for me to move my thumb down and release it.
Yeah, and we also, I mean, there's some out there too that claim a quick installation, but they're still using the Allen key pins to be able to lock everything into place, and it gets very long and time consuming. So yeah, it's one of the things that has really set us apart, and all these little pieces we're showing you are all pieces of the patents for our arms too. So it makes it hard for it to be replicated, which, you know, really sets us apart, right? Mm-hmm. When it comes to safest to use, this is one of the pieces of our monitor arms that is another kind of showstopper when it comes down to safety and just ease of installation. So most monitor arms have a post stop, but it's usually in the base, right? They have a post stop for this bottom piece, and that post stop is usually a 180. All it does is allow that monitor arm to stop at the back of the desk, and if you turn it the other way, it stops at the back of the desk. There's no real adjustment to it, and there's nothing for the second arm or even a third arm if you go 3 links. Our monitor arms provide a smart stop ring in every single joint. And this smart stop ring gives you the ability to set it at either 360, so you have no smart stop, it just spins, 180, so 180 is basically the flat piece of the back part of your desk, or 90. So you can actually take two 90s, a 90 at the base and a 90 at the top, and it'll actually stop you at 180 degrees to each side, because 90 plus 90, 180, right? The best part about this is you don't have to configure it. It is in every single joint that you order. It's in up to triple link. You can do 3 different joints. So you're not being shorted on where the protection is. I mean, let's be honest, the asset on the monitor arm is on the monitor itself at the end of the arm. And if you don't have a smart stop on the link that the monitor is on, it's kind of an issue. That's the link that can go over the back of a panel. And then when you're standing and decide to sit, it now catches on that panel. It's the one where it can swing out and it can go out to a walkway. It can swing to a neighbor's desk, all that type of stuff. So that's a really important spot to have a smart stop. And we include it in every single joint. Also, if you notice in the blow up picture on here, there's a bunch of teeth down in the bottom of this. So there's also teeth in this ring as well. And what that allows you to do is actually finite that adjustment. So if you put it at 180 and it doesn't quite meet where you need it to on the right, but it does on the left because maybe something's not quite square or you're putting it in a corner desk, you can lift that ring and turn it tooth by tooth by tooth to adjust where you need that stop to be. So you can really make it a finite adjustment at the end of the day for whatever you possibly need and whatever desk configuration or whatever the end user need is to make it a really clean, safe adjustment on your arms for every single link, okay? Also, when it comes to safety, reiterate the cable management. I'm not going to dig into it, but we covered that earlier. Not only is it a money saver when it comes to the front part of cost and the ROI over the term you have your monitor arms, but the safety piece as well, that falls right into your ROI as well, because the stuff gets broken, someone gets injured, that's cost to the company. So it's a really important piece there as well. As far as being the most flexible and easiest to configure and reconfigure, we talked about the quick release joints. Again, super easy to plug and unplug, make your adjustments as you need to, go from an angle to a straight to a dynamic. Maybe you need to add a link, all that stuff's super easy. But more importantly, it comes down to our monitor arm line. So our monitor arm line comes down to basically 3 different arms. And when I talk about it, it's primarily the dynamic link that's involved. But we have our M2.1, which goes up to 15.5 pounds. M8.1, which goes up to 28, and M10, which can go up to 48 pounds. M10 is the only one that does not use a self-compensating spring mechanism. It is actually a gas cylinder that's in there to compensate for the heavier weight. So you do not have a tension guide on it, and you do not have the self-riding spring mechanism. So M10 is your outlier simply because of weight. But in addition to those 3 different links and the different weight ranges, to give you some context too, probably 88, I think it's right around 88% of our business, maybe it's 85, falls under M2.1. That's where most monitor weights fall for most of our customers, whether you're doing it as an individual arm or you're putting M2.1 on our MFlex solution, right? Because we use these arms on our MFlex to be able to expand them out. M8.1 is our number 2 seller. And then M10 is a small percentage. We don't do a lot of M10 simply because there's not a lot of screens that size that are going on a desk based on weight. Also, we do 3 colors. Oh, where did my 3 color slide go? It disappeared. We do 3 colors. We do a black. This is our silver that's pictured. And we also do a white with it's a shiny aluminum. So it's a white and aluminum, okay? Sorry, I don't have it pictured here. We also do 3 different link sizes plus an angled link. So every single monitor arm, you can do a 4-inch straight, an 8-inch straight, a 12-inch straight, in addition to the dynamic, in addition to the angled link. The angled link is pictured right here. This is our angled link with a dynamic on the end. So you have 5 different links with every monitor arm that you can use to make a configuration. And you do not need a dynamic link to finish a configuration. You can finish the configuration on the end of any of our other links if the customer decides they do not want a dynamic link. That's a lot to take in, but hopefully you guys kind of understand the flexibility in regards to the product itself. Any questions on that? And obviously with the flexibility piece and most agile, I talked about MFlex. This is a product where we can take single links and go anywhere from a single 49-inch screen to 2 49 inches stacked on a post, to 6 27s with 3/3, to whatever you can possibly think of. You can Jenga this thing together and Lego it and make it whatever your customer needs it to be, to fit whatever their current or future need is. That's the beauty of MFlex. And you can use any combination of arms. You can use an M2.1 for a lightweight screen on one side, and you can use an M8.1 for one screen on the other. So it really is infinite as far as what you can do to meet a customer's need, as far as what they're wanting to put together. And last but not least, most sustainable. Listen, at the end of the day, we've all probably gotten a Christmas gift or a package from Amazon where you open it up, it's a small box, and it is loaded with packing peanuts. And those packing peanuts get staticky and you're reaching down into the box, trying not to spill over, and then they spill over everywhere and it's a hot mess, right? Well, packing peanuts, there are actually customers that we compete against who still use packing peanuts for their arms. We actually use 2 things, and I apologize for the 2 images. They're a little blurry, but you get the gist. We actually use pulp trays. So most of our packaging is done in pulp trays, which makes it very organized, but also it's 100% recyclable. So it's a pulp tray inside a cardboard box. And then on some bulk packaging, we use a ton of paper in our bulk packaging with a very, very limited amount of plastic to just protect these surfaces to make sure there is no damage to them. So when you get a package from us, you're looking at 95 to 98% of the packaging being environmentally recyclable, with a very small percentage of plastic, likely not, which goes twofold. Number one, it's a great message for a customer who has an environmental message of their own. But number 2, being able to take everything, break it down, smash it down, and recycle it is a lot easier than dealing with bulk waste from plastics, packing peanuts, and other plastics when it comes to unpackaging and installing a large volume of arms. One of the big things that we really shine with is here. This is a bit of an eye chart, but I think you guys will get the gist. On M8.1 and M2.1, you can see that we have declare labels, HPD certifications, no red list ingredient certifications, air quality certification, healthier hospital certification, a level 3 certification. You go down the list of 9 of our other competitors, and you're going to see a lot of no and unknowns. That tells you right there that we take a lot of time sourcing our materials, doing research on our materials, doing research on our suppliers to making sure they meet these requirements to really, really drive home our messaging around environment. If you're not familiar with Humanscale before today, that's one of the huge messages that we really push. I mean, we use fishnet recycling in our chairs, and we do, God no, I forgot what the percentage of water that we use in recycled water off of rain in New Jersey in our manufacturing plants. I mean, we do the extremes to really make sure that we have an environmental message in place, and we have net positive products that actually have a net positive impact to the environment versus all of our other competitors. So if that means anything to our end users that we're talking to or to yourselves, it's a really great message, especially nowadays, to be able to speak to a company that is able to do this and takes the time out to do it. It also speaks to the quality of the product. When you're taking that much time to source materials and go through that type of stuff, the quality really increases quite heavily. And that's where we really, really tip our hat to show where we stand above the rest. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to play a video in the background. There's no sound to it, but it gives you an idea of how fast you can install the arms. And I'm going to open up for any questions, comments, anything you all have.
And I can attest, since I've done these, installed them, and I've installed competitors, it is this quick to install. And it's pretty nice that even the base plate, as far as if you have the panels up or if you have a back panel on the work surface, that bottom comes off and then you can easily put it on, and then one person can have it because of the way it's balanced on the bottom, and then go in and put it on. So it is amazingly quick.
And one of the things I didn't mention through the presentation that should be called out, and I just don't call it out in the presentation, is in that square base that's clamped down below, the plastic cover on that actually pops off on all of our non-technology base, so our standard base, and it provides you all the tools and a holding spot for all the tools you need to be able to do not only the install, but if you need to do an adjustment on the monitor arms. So all the tools are always there. They're shipped with each monitor arm that goes out the door, so you have everything there you need. And you don't have to go shopping or trying to find tools just to make an adjustment or a fix on an arm if need arises on a site. So I'm going to jump into technology, since everyone seems to be good on arms, and talk about some of our technology products, primarily MConnect 2. So MConnect 2 can take a desk like this. This is a desk we actually set up at the Consumer Electronics Show about 3 years ago, the year before COVID. We did an electronics show, and we set up a laptop with monitors on their own stands on a 30 by 60 inch sit stand desk, had the keyboard and mouse on top, the cell phones plugged into the dock, the tablets plugged into a power supply underneath, all the stuff that sits on top of the desk. To be able to illustrate that if you take our docking solution with a monitor arm and a keyboard tray, that you can now take that same 30 by 60 inch desk and make it usable. Now you can clear it up, I don't know how many square feet of room from the stands, from the cables and all the stuff. And in this particular case, we have a laptop that is plugged in with a USB-C cable. It is charging the laptop, so you don't need desktop power for the laptop. You're running 2 screens plus the laptop screen. On the right-hand side, over here where the cell phone is, we have a high-speed charger, same power you get when you plug in an adapter into the wall to then plug in your USB to then plug in your phone. We basically did away with all the extras and just gave you a high-speed charger for your USB, so that way you can plug in your cell phone or your tablet. And in this case, we have a wired keyboard and mouse that is plugged into the under portion of the dock, so you don't have to bring cables up above. Now you can take the power cables and the DisplayPort cables from your monitors. They are run through the cable management of our monitor arm, taken down below the desk, and they now stay down below the desk. Ethernet cable that is below the desk also stays below the desk, doesn't have to plug into a dock up above. And it gives you an exceptionally clean look. And the way we do it is with MConnect 2. This is our universal docking solution. It is a split docking solution, which we own the patent on as well, which is why you don't see it anywhere else in the market. And the reason we did a split docking solution is because it allows us to take all those permanent connections that you typically set and forget, cable from your monitor, your Ethernet, keyboard and mouse, other connections, and you can connect them all below the desk and leave them. And all it does is leave you a user hub up on top to be able to connect to. It also integrates with all of our monitor arms, or it can be a standalone. You can take the cap, the cup off the top of this monitor arm, which is where the monitor arm connects, and you can make it a flat portion on top. So it actually can just be a standalone all by itself, and it can work along the side of someone else's monitor arms or a quick stand or a sit stand solution. And they can still get the same user experience, get all the cables off the desk, be able to plug in one laptop, charge the laptop, all the above, and still be used even if it's not integrated with our monitor arms. The product itself is broken down into two pieces. The top portion is our hub, and the hub has an on-off switch. It has an upstream cable, which you plug your laptop into and can push 100 watts of power to a laptop so you can charge your laptop. You have to have a laptop that can take that charge from USB-C. That's your only caveat, but that's what most of the market has right now. You have two USB-As on the front. This is where you can plug in a dongle for a keyboard and mouse. You can plug in a flash drive. You can push and pull data. You have a headphone microphone jack for those days when your cordless one is dead or you want to listen to something at work that you're not supposed to and you're going to plug in and listen to it. This is where you can do it there. On the right-hand side, you have your two charging ports. Neither one of these are data. So here's the big thing with this. You have a customer who has definite security protocols in place about plugging in your cell phone to your laptop, all this other stuff. You don't have to worry about it here. So now you can plug in your laptop, have your screens, everything going. You can plug in your cell phone or your tablet, whatever you want to on these two USBs. One of them's USB-C, one's USB-A. There's no data connection. So it's not going to ask your work computer to download iTunes when you plug in your iPhone. You can just charge it. And it's the same power you get when you plug into the wall. It's 15 watts on one, 12 and a half on the other. And they're dedicated power, so they're not power share. You can plug into both of them. Each one's going to put out the max power all the time, 24/7. You're not going to have it dummy down just because you have two things plugged in. Any questions?
Justin, we do have a question in the chat from Kristen Stubbs. She
Okay.
asked, maybe I missed this, but can the arms fit or can they be retrofitted to fit with any monitor? I find that this is a big concern with clients.
Sure. So with any monitor arm, the monitor itself basically needs to have a VESA mount of some sort, okay? So as long as they have some sort of VESA connection on the back, whether it's a 100 by 100, 200 by 200, 100 by 200, or even a 400 by 400, we can typically accommodate that. Now, if it's a retail screen, something they got maybe from Best Buy that does not have a VESA connection on the back, we can direct them where to find some adapters, but it's not something that we typically provide because there's too many screens in the market to try to account for all of them to provide an adapter for all of them. But there are certain websites and certain groups that we've had great results from where we're able to get an adapter that'll work great for that one particular screen and then give you the VESA connection you need to connect the monitor arm.
Thank you.
And thanks for pulling that up for me. I don't see the chat on my end. I see the couple faces and stuff. So if you see any of them pop up, please let me know.
Sure, will do.
Any other questions?
Justin, I guess that would be the same case if you had existing M2.1 mounts, but you wanted to upgrade to the M Connect 2. Basically, you could use every part of the arm and just switch out the base.
100% correct. Yeah, basically M Connect 2 is nothing more than a clamp replacement. So yeah, you absolutely nailed it.
We have one more question. This is from Gina. She says, also, can you speak to factory installation and the best way that it's handled with end user IT people and who actually mounts the monitor / cleans up cable management?
So that one's a very, very open question because everyone does it different from region to region, even within individual regions. So I don't have a straight answer for you. I will tell you that one of the better ways we've seen it done, at least I've seen it done, is if we work with a dealership and the dealership has an installation team, we typically want to be able to get in front of the installation team before they go out to do the install to give best practices for whatever monitor arm they're going to do the install on. So that way they are set up for success for that piece of the installation. Once that is done, more often than not, the end user will have an IT group who's going to go in and do the installation of the arm or cables. This is not always the case. but we see it more often than not because they own the monitors and they own the cables. So at that point, we would like to also, if possible, be able to have a quick conversation with them to be able to walk through any best practices as far as the cable management, connecting to our dock, getting the dock up and running if that's in place, all the above. So the moral to that story and any of them, because there's 1,000 shades of gray on that particular question, is whoever's going to do any portion of the install, it is highly recommended to try to engage whoever the Humanscale rep is at that time. So that way we can work with you and them to make sure that we can do some best practices training to ensure that everything goes as smoothly as possible. So once day one occurs and the end users are walking in to utilize the product, we are dealing with limited to none issues at that time, right? Because there's nothing worse than a bad installation, and we want to try to avoid a bad installation at all costs.
Thank you.
All right.
Did I answer your question, Gina?
So I'm guessing there's no question on the hub. I'll talk about the bottom portion real quick. This bottom portion is actually connects to the clamp down below. It can also be screwed in to the bottom of the desk utilizing these screw points on the opposite ends. You can also drop it into cable management. You can also Velcro it, duct tape it, whatever you want to do underneath. Lots of options as to where it can be mounted. Typically it stays on the clamp. It has 3 USB connections down below. It has a bridge cable connection. This is the connection point where the top portion connects to the bottom portion. Okay, that's how the two talk together. On the far side, you have your Ethernet port, and you have 2 DisplayPort connections for 2 screens. The cool thing with this product is right out of the box, it'll support 2 4K screens plus a laptop, so a total of 3 screens. You can also utilize additional adapters from DisplayLink. DisplayLink is the company that we partnered with. They provide the chipsets for our dock. They provide chipsets for other docking solutions out there and other adapters. You can find a DisplayLink adapter and plug into one of the USBs down here below and be able to plug in 2 more screens if you wanted to, for a total of 4 4K screens plus your laptop. This has actually been tested at the same CES we did right before COVID, where you could daisy chain 4 of our docks, 2 screens per dock, and run 8 4K screens off of 1 laptop. You end up having 9 screens because of the laptop screen. So what I'm getting at is this particular product right out the box meets 99.9% of the people out there. Most people don't do more than 1 or 2 screens plus a laptop screen. But if you have an end user who does want to expand, you have the ability to do the expansion on this very inexpensively by adding additional adapters, DisplayLink adapters on the bottom part of the dock to give additional plugins. So it's a really cool product when it comes down to it, as far as the expandability of it, the usability of it. And at the end of the day, what you get is a product like this. All the cables are running east and west underneath the desk. You have no cable connection points sticking out the back of the desk. As furniture people, this is important because we're doing sit stand solutions. We have panels, we have all this stuff that you can't have things expanding out the back of the desk from. So all of our products are built specifically to go directly into cable management, to be able to not interfere with anything that is out there, whether it's a panel, a desk, sit stand, anything else that's out there, and give a very clean ergonomic solution all the way around. As I mentioned before, we partnered with DisplayLink. They partner with HP, with Dell, with Lenovo, with Targus, with a bunch of other companies. So when we went to reinvent the wheel of the dock, we made sure not to reinvent the technology. We just wanted to reinvent how the technology was delivered. And we stuck with DisplayLink because this is an industry standard when it comes to universal docking. So when you talk to anyone about this from an IT level, they know what you're talking about. And if you decide to go talk to a customer in regards to this dock, the important piece is to find out if they use docking stations and if they have laptops. If they have both of those, it's a great intro about this product. And then hopefully we can come in and help partner with you to go into the real nitty gritty nuts and bolts of it, where it may not be comfortable, but we can be more comfortable in doing so to maybe partner up and double our sale. This on the base of a monitor arm will double the revenue of any monitor arm sale. So it's an amazing thing what that can do to a 100-unit sale when you add technology to the base. Last but not least, mPower. mPower is a power solution, no data. All this is USB high-speed power, just like a standard butter stick you can put on top of the desk with a 3-prong plug-in on there. This just gets rid of the 3-prong plugin. It's a great add-on for when you're working with a customer who doesn't need desktop power to plug in a laptop anymore, but they need desktop power for their accessories. That's where this comes into play. And it's a great add-on, very inexpensive, very cost efficient. It comes in around 50 to 100 bucks on the base as an upcharge versus 100 plus to do desktop power solution. So it's a great solution there that you can add on very easily at the end of the day. And then last but not least, our NeatSuite. I said last but not least, but this is actually the last but not least.
Justin, we have one more question. This is from
Oh,
Mary
great.
Beth.
Sure.
She asked, would these replace the docking station?
Yes.
Okay.
Very basically, yes. So when we go in and we are selling this and the customer decides to take it on, what they're looking at is typically as a historical piece, they may have gone from Dell to HP for their laptops. And even within Dell, they've changed models, or within HP, they've changed models. And through that whole span, they likely have had to buy new docking stations every single time. Our docking solution would have been a solution they could have used through all of those changes because it works with anything with USB or USB-C, and it does not matter whether it's made by HP, Dell, Lenovo, Mac, whoever. So there's a huge return on investment going with a universal solution like ours, and it would be a replacement for their current docking and their future docking as they change laptop solutions over the years. So that's where that product really comes into play. And yes, absolutely. That's why they would swap it out for a current docking from their current docking solution. As you see up above here, this is NeatSuite. NeatSuite is our package of products that includes NeatTech, which is our cable management solution, NeatHub, which is a desktop power solution, which I was talking about earlier that we sell mPower against, but a lot of people want desktop power, so we have it. We have NeatUp, which is a solution that provides a very clean cord solution on our sit stand solutions, on our Humanscale sit stand solutions currently. So that way you don't have to run a cable down to the desk on a sit stand. This actually takes care of it for you. It telescopes out as the desk goes up and down. We're going to have a version of this next year that'll be retrofittable to pretty much every other sit stand desk out in the market. So that will be coming. We also have NeatCharge, and NeatCharge is a product that has outsold every other NeatSuite product up here except for NeatTech since its release earlier this year. And what it provides is a wireless charging solution on your desk, but without it being on your desk. So it's actually a hockey puck that can be mounted underneath your desk. We provide a sticker to show where you set your phone down, and it'll work on any desk from 18 millimeters up to, I think we're gonna be at 44 millimeters here in the coming months, which really gives you a really cool solution without having to alter the desk. You don't have to cut a hole in the desk. You don't have to do anything else to the desk. You literally can mount it with 2 to 4 screws down below, put a sticker on top, and you can have wireless high-speed charging on your desktop through any non-metallic surface. So you can put it on granite, wood, MDF, whatever, just not metal. So that is officially the last slide. And I am absolutely open up for questions because I believe I'm over my time. I apologize, but I am, I think I am. I don't remember what we set this for.
Yeah, a
Yeah,
few
a
minutes.
little bit.
Yeah, about 10 minutes. Sorry, guys and ladies. My apologies.
So exciting though.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, any questions, any concerns, anything you all have for me? And I'll be glad to let you go. I apologize again.
Well, we do have a drawing too, as far as that goes, for everybody who has attended.
Yep.
So Pete, do you want to draw a name?
Oh,
Are we drawing? How many are we doing?
3.
3?
3 names. All right.
I don't even know what we're giving away.
I'll reach out to the winners and let them choose a gift.
There's one.
All right.
What do we got?
We have Scott Hall. Congratulations,
Scott.
Scott. Leslie Kramer. Congratulations, Leslie.
All right. Go ahead, Tim. Pick a winner.
And Bethany Williams.
All right. Congrats,
Congratulations.
everybody.
Yeah, thank you, everybody, for joining.
Thank you so
Any
much.
questions before we sign off? I see everybody's head shaking. Thanks, everybody. Justin, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
No, thank you for your time and thanks for your patience. I apologize for running over. I lost track of the clock. So thank you, everybody.
No, you're
No
good.
problem.
That was all
Have a good one,
good.
everybody.
Thanks.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye.
So if I put out some food, will you